Hi everyone, welcome back. And you know what the best part about filming in a household people is? Finding a quiet spot and one with like good lighting. And that's what we have today, even though it makes my face a little bit shiny. That's okay. And I can see every spot on my glasses. So today I am doing like what I've been reading lately and what I am currently reading. And I'm going to start with nonfiction. And I read a lot of both fiction and nonfiction. And right now I actually have one of both going on, but I prefer fiction generally, but fiction is useful. Like, if you say, oh, what's your favorite type of book? I'm going to say fiction, probably fantasy. But anyways, let's go and start doing it. So first on nonfiction, I'm doing the ones I read longest ago to the ones I read most recently, and I'm doing the ones that I enjoyed the most, the ones I think you guys would get the most value out of, just like I got the most value out of them. And first I have Play, How It Shapes the Brain, Opens the Imagination, and Invigorates the Soul by Stuart Brown, MD. And this is a book that's about how play is purposeless, all-consuming, and fun. And it's not trivial, it's important, and it's actually key to a healthy lifestyle. And this was super interesting, and Dr. Brown explains why play is essential to our social skills, adaptability, intelligence, creativity, ability to problem solve, and more. So it's really great, and if you need like a good excuse as to why you should not be pushing yourself all the time, like you shouldn't always be on the grind, this is a great book. Next, How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport. And my high school friends will be like, oh, Catherine's already a straight A student, what's the point? College is hard. And it feels like I spent so much time studying, and like same thing in high school too with the IB classes. And the thing is because I didn't know how to study effectively, and that comes from, I guess, having enough natural aptitude to just like kind of get through it without studying. And then I hit like IB classes, and they were really hard, and I just didn't know how to study. So this book was just full of really good techniques, and it was really fast. I think my reading time for it was no more than 2 hours. So it's super fast, and it has all this stuff from students who are not always on the grind, but they are getting really good scores and have these great study techniques, and I just really encourage you to read it. And I'm going to be, before my library loan ends on it, I'm just going to be copying my notes from my highlights and whatnot in my Kindle book to my personal curriculum notebook. It was really good. I didn't remember what that was called for a second. And my current nonfiction book, and I'm listening to it as an audiobook right now because my university library didn't have it, and my digital local library didn't have it in ebook form. So I'm listening to it as an e-audiobook from my university library, but I just put a hold on the physical form at my local library, and hopefully that'll come in soon. But it's about nutrition, and it's been really interesting learning about reductionism, looking at stuff as a separate part. And there's the old Indian fable about how, I don't know, 5 or 6 blind men are brought to an elephant and say, touch the elephant and describe what it is. And one man describes the elephant as being like a rope, another one describes it as being like a tree, one describes it as being like a paintbrush, one describes it as being like a fan. And it's because each man is looking at a different part of the elephant. And I don't what the one who said it was a rope was looking at the neck, the fan was looking at the ear, the tree trunk was looking at the leg, or the man who said each thing. I said the man looking at the tail thought it was a paintbrush. I don't think that's actually right. But each of these people only had a separate view, and that's the essence of reductionism, only looking at one aspect and not how they, do this to make a complete whole. And this professor this book was published in 2012, but he's been doing years and years of research of this, so he's a really good authority on it. But he's oh yeah, we look at this as, and this is actually where I am in the audiobook right now, he's we look at it as focusing on I need to make sure I get my daily allotment of this vitamin, and this vitamin, when really we need to be looking at the whole structure. And it also had some interesting stuff on protein and getting too much protein, as well as it also advocates a whole food plant-based diet. And this doesn't mean you have to go vegan or vegetarian, but it's super interesting, and I'm reading it because I want to make sure I'm getting enough whole foods and proper nutrition as a vegetarian whose parents would not let them go vegetarian when they were minor, because they're you're not going to get enough protein, and you pass out from low blood sugar without one time, and you still have problems with that. So it was a struggle, but I did it. But now I have to be super like aware of what I'm eating and making sure I get enough protein, because I'm not eating meat, which is like, you know, a really great source of protein that everyone uses these days. I say these days, meaning like when meat wasn't like readily available. But yeah, it's super interesting, and I would definitely recommend. The audiobook is like 11 or 12 hours, which is so long, and I don't have an attention span for that kind of audiobook, so I'm listening to it at 1.6 times speed, and I'm listening to it on my commutes. By the way, I got a job, which is very exciting. I only have it until I go to college, but that's another story. Finally, let's move on to fiction. And first, I have The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg, and let me say, oh my gosh, this was like so good, super compelling. So I shot this video once originally, but I shot it in portrait instead of landscape like it is now, and I'm like, I am a fool. So I'm reshooting it now, and I did a terrible job explaining it last time, so I have the description here. Glimmering like a jewel behind its gateway, the Kingdom is an immersive fantasy theme park where guests soar on virtual dragons, castles loom like giants, and bioengineered species, formerly extinct, run free. Anna is one of 7 fantasists, beautiful princesses engineered to make the park's dreams come true. Engineered to make dreams come true. When she meets park employee Owen, Anna begins to experience emotions beyond her programming, including, for the first time, love. But the fairy tale becomes a nightmare when Anna is accused of murdering Owen, igniting the trial of the century. Through courtroom testimony, interviews, and Anna's memories of Owen emerges a tale of love, lies, and cruelty, and what it means to be human. So, oh my gosh, this was so good. Like, I was hooked the entire time. It was just such good fantasy, and everything like set in the future these days is all like apocalyptic and dystopian, and like, well, this is like somewhat dystopian because, you know, people have, you know, stopped caring for the planet, so they're like, oh yeah, outside the kingdom is a world of pollution and terrible things, and yeah, lots of species have like gone extinct, but it's like, it's not your typical like chosen one dystopian. Like this ain't Divergent. Okay, then my next fiction book is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and this is like, it was like a Reese Witherspoon and a Hello Sunshine book club pick, thanks internet, that's like really big. I had to wait for like 2 or 3 months for my hold on this to come in, because I just think it's an interesting title, Where the Crawdads Sing. Like, what sort of nonsense is this? And apparently amazing nonsense, because it tells the story of this girl, Kia, and she lives in like the swamp on the North Carolina coast, and at the very beginning of the book, basically her entire family lives, and she's just left with her dad, who's an alcoholic, and she like, you know, learns to live on her own. And when her father like one day leaves and never comes back like the rest of her family did, like, she just figures out how to do everything, and for years she lives all on her own, and it comes to a point where Kia opens herself to a new life with some people, like, you know, outside who she has to interact with, besides the man that she sells seafood to get enough money to buy just the basics she needs for her own meals. And this, kind of like The Kingdom, is told in alternating like viewpoints. You have like the present and then the past, and in the present, the like town sweetheart gets murdered, and then everyone's like, what's going on? And Kia, called the Marsh Girl, is immediately suspect, but then you also have Kia growing up, so it's, you know, just like the whole time I was like, oh my gosh, did she do this? Like, she can't do this. This is such a sweet girl. And then I was like, there's a trial, and I'm like, did she do it? Did she not do it? And no one knows. And it's just, you know, it really has you rooting for the main character, and it's so fantastic. They don't know if it's a murder or it's suicide or anything, and it's just, I don't know, it's just so intriguing. Like, Kia is just such a wonderful protagonist, and I love her. I have 2 final books, and they're both by Brandon Sanderson. So first is Elantris, and it's his first published novel, and it's a long one, but it's technically an epic fantasy, but it's not like a quest. Like, it's not, definitely not The Hobbit, but there's 3 people that you're following. You're following Rowden, a prince who catches this disease who turns him into kind of an undead person, and then his fiancée Seren, who is, oh my gosh, a queen. I love her. And then this like crazy priest / missionary that's sent to this kingdom, and it's just, you know, they're trying to figure out what happened to Elantris, which was like this beautiful city, like very much the idea of a city set upon a hill, and they have advanced knowledge and everything, and I don't know, it's great. They're like, they don't know what happened to cause the people to know. I love my self-care app, but I love it significantly less when it stops my video. But anyways, they're trying to figure out why becoming an Elantrian turned from being like basically becoming a god to becoming like a forsaken, fallen people, and it's so interesting and so compelling, and the characters again are just so good, and all of Brandon Sanderson's writing is so good. And then the next one, the book is actually propping up my camera, and it's called Mistborn, and this is a world with allomancy, which is a type of magic, and you have these certain like metals in your stomach, and like burning these metals in your stomach, which is a gift that only some people have, it gives you like, you know, superpowers. So like certain metals like let you influence others' emotions, and other ones make you like Superman, and it's so good. And I love the main character in this one. I mostly gave you guys books that you know, the characters were super compelling, or the ideas were just so compelling, and I couldn't put it down. And they're ones that like I binge read, and I just like, they were just so good. Oh my goodness. But anyways, this is what I'm reading now. I'll probably do more videos like this in the future, because I always love doing videos like this. And like ideally, like one day in the, you know, future, I would love if I had like enough followers that we could like do a book club. I'm like, hey, we are going to talk about this book at the end of the month and do like a live video stream. That would be like so cool. But anyways, I'm tired of sitting in this creaky chair, and I need to get this edited and get it up by Saturday evening, because I promised that it would be up by the end of the week, and I gotta do it. Okay, bye everyone.